Gaza winter crisis. Everything is soaked. Rain adds to misery for Palestinians. Welcome to the Mirror TV. I am Mercy. Please subscribe, share, like, and comment to enable us to keep giving you top stories happening around the world. Russia-Ukraine negotiations. Momentum for a negotiated settlement to the Russia-Ukraine war is building as a U.S. envoy touched down in Moscow for direct talks. The Kremlin confirmed the visit, signaling a potential thaw in diplomatic relations. The discussions center on a controversial peace plan that reportedly requires major concessions from Ukraine, including potential territorial compromises. While diplomats talk, the war rages on. Russian forces have intensified attacks on Ukraine's energy grid, leaving millions vulnerable as winter sets in. As Russia pummels Ukraine's energy systems, Kyiv hopes U.S. gas will fill the gap, noted one report. The peace plan, described by some as a 28-point proposal, is seen by European leaders as a critical, perhaps final, chance to stabilize the region. However, critics argue that the terms may force Kyiv to capitulate to aggression to secure peace. Israel-Palestine prisoner release. Mohammed Ibrahim, a Palestinian-American teenager, walked free today after spending 9 months in an Israeli prison. Ibrahim was taken from his home in a night raid when he was just 15 years old and held under administrative detention, a practice that allows incarceration without charge or trial. His release comes after months of lobbying by his family and human rights organizations. The case had drawn attention to the treatment of minors in the West Bank and created friction between Washington and Tel Aviv. Upon his release, Ibrahim was reunited with his family, though the psychological toll of his detention remains a heavy burden. Gaza winter crisis. Winter has arrived in Gaza, bringing with it a new wave of misery. Torrential rains have turned tent cities into mud pits, with residents reporting that everything is soaked, from bedding to food supplies. The humanitarian situation, already critical due to the ongoing blockade and conflict, is deteriorating rapidly. Aid agencies warn that the combination of cold weather, lack of shelter, and poor sanitation could lead to disease outbreaks. Winter rains in Gaza bring new misery for Palestinians, aid workers confirmed, pleading for immediate international assistance to provide winterized shelter. Nigerian kidnapping. Nigeria is reeling from another mass abduction as gunmen stormed a school in Papiri, Niger State, seizing more than 300 students. The attackers, often referred to as bandits, led the children into the forest, leaving families in anguish. This incident is the latest in a series of attacks targeting educational institutions in northern Nigeria. The government is under fire for its inability to curb the violence. Security forces have been deployed to track the kidnappers, but the frequency of these attacks suggests a complete breakdown of security in parts of the country. U.S.-South Africa rift. Relations between the United States and South Africa hit a new low today, as Donald Trump declared that South Africa is effectively banned from the 2026 G20 summit. The president, exercising influence over the upcoming agenda, stated, South Africa will not receive an invitation, accusing the nation of perpetrating human rights abuses against white Afrikaners. The move appears to be a direct rebuttal to South Africa's foreign policy stances, which have often conflicted with U.S. interests in recent years. South African officials have yet to issue a formal response, but the uninvite threatens to isolate the African economic powerhouse from key global financial discussions. China-Japan tension. Tensions in East Asia escalated today as the Chinese military delivered a chilling ultimatum to Japan. In a press briefing, officials warned that Japan will pay a painful price if it steps out of line over Taiwan. The rhetoric follows reports that Japan has been deepening security ties with the US and Taiwan, a move Beijing views as a violation of the One China policy. The threat suggests that China is prepared to use economic or military leverage against Tokyo should it continue to align closely with Taipei. Analysts fear this war of words could precipitate a standoff in the South China Sea. Guinea-Bissau coup. In a dramatic turn of events in West Africa, military officers in Guinea-Bissau have seized power, arresting President Umaro Sissoco Embalo and suspending the nation's constitution. Soldiers appeared on national television early Thursday to announce that the army had taken total control of the country. The coup leaders have dissolved the government and suspended all preparations for upcoming elections, plunging the politically volatile nation into uncertainty. Heavy military presence has been reported on the streets of the capital Bissau, with checkpoints established at key government buildings. International condemnation has been swift, but the junta remains defiant. This latest coup adds Guinea-Bissau to a growing list of West African nations that have experienced military takeovers in recent years, raising fears of a contagion of instability across the region. U.S. National Guard ambush. Washington, D.C. is on high alert after 2 National Guard members were shot in what authorities are calling an ambush attack just blocks from the White House. The suspect, identified as Rahmanullah Lakanwal, an Afghan national, is in custody. The incident has immediately become a political flashpoint. Donald Trump released a statement blaming the attack on lax migration policies, asserting that the current administration has failed to vet those entering the country. This is a direct result of open borders, Trump's camp suggested, framing the shooting as a preventable national security failure. The condition of the service members remains critical but stable. The FBI has launched a sleeper cell investigation in the wake of the attack, fearing broader coordination. Hong Kong inferno. Hong Kong is mourning its deadliest fire in decades after a blaze ripped through the Wang Fuk Court apartment complex, leaving at least 65 confirmed dead. Firefighters battled the inferno for a second day as flames consumed the building, fueled by the city's iconic bamboo scaffolding which surrounded the structure for renovations. The speed of the fire was terrifying, witnesses reported. The tragedy has forced an immediate reckoning with construction practices, with calls to ban bamboo scaffolding growing louder. Hong Kong fire may speed up moves to end use of iconic bamboo scaffolding, experts warned. Hospitals are overwhelmed with the injured, and the death toll is expected to rise as search and rescue teams access the upper floors. Pope Leo XIV's historic trip. In a move laden with symbolism, Pope Leo XIV has chosen Turkey as the destination for his first foreign trip, underscoring his commitment to interreligious dialogue. The pontiff was greeted by Turkish officials and is scheduled to meet with religious leaders to discuss religious and political ties. Following his time in Turkey, the Pope will travel to Lebanon, a nation currently grappling with political paralysis. The Vatican hopes the visit will bring attention to the plight of Christians in the Middle East and foster greater understanding between the East and West. Observers note that choosing a Muslim-majority nation for his first trip signals a continuation of the Vatican's modern diplomatic strategy of building bridges in the Islamic world. Venezuelan crisis. The specter of U.S. intervention in Venezuela has returned. Donald Trump, known for his hawkish stance on the Latin American nation, issued a stark warning to President Nicolas Maduro: step down, the easy way or the hard way. The comments suggest a potential return to the maximum pressure campaigns of the past. While White House officials have previously stated there is no plan for military intervention, Trump's rhetoric implies that all options remain on the table. The statement has drawn sharp rebukes from Caracas, which accuses the U.S. of imperialism and plotting a coup. China train disaster. Tragedy struck China's railway network today when a train plowed into a group of workers in the southwestern province of Yunnan. Authorities confirmed that 11 people were killed and 2 others injured in the disaster. The victims were reportedly performing maintenance work when the collision occurred. An immediate investigation has been launched to determine why the workers were on the active line and why the train was not warned. The incident has prompted a nationwide safety review of railway maintenance procedures. Sri Lanka floods. Nature's fury has descended on Sri Lanka, where heavy rains have unleashed deadly floods and landslides. The death toll has risen to 31, with another 14 people reported missing. Entire villages have been inundated and hillsides have collapsed, burying homes in mud. Emergency responders are working around the clock, but everything is soaked and access to remote areas is cut off. The government has issued evacuation warnings for riverbank communities as meteorologists forecast more rain in the coming days. Indonesia disaster. Search and rescue teams in Indonesia are frantically digging through mud and debris in a race to find survivors after Cyclone Senyar triggered devastating floods. The official death toll stands at 49, but officials fear it will rise. The mud is deep and the terrain is unstable, a rescue coordinator explained. The disaster has displaced thousands, and the government is rushing aid to the hardest-hit regions. The intensity of the storm has also affected neighboring Malaysia and Thailand, making this a regional catastrophe. That's all we have for you today.